Yes, thank you. So if we can all just once again put our feet on the floor, which and acknowledge our contact with our shoes or the floor, and that's connected to the earth. And we're acknowledging that the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of whose land we are each on have been stewards or custodians, really listening and following their creative instructions to care for the land and care for all life which was upon the land and the waters and the sky. So we want to pay our respects to them on the land of wherever our feet is touching, and the elders in their teaching ability for thousands of years that they have managed to instill in their next generations that they should look after the land. So that's an incredible accomplishment, actually, to do that over thousands and thousands of years. And so we should honour them and their educational ability, their ability to practice and to ground their faith in the earth, as well as honouring all the dreaming and their spirituality. So we hope that we can continue that understanding through having a big hearts and generosity as we listen to each other this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Perry, did you have any music? Otherwise, well.
Yes, there is some. There's like two music. Two music.
For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem, a rejoicing, and her people a joy, and I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people, and the voice of shall no more be heard in her, nor the voice of crying. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the shall be no more orphans and infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed, and they shall build houses the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. And it shall come to pass, that before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people, and the voice of weeping shall no more be heard in her, nor the voice of crying. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And their offspring with them.
O God, my God, aid thou thy trusted servants to have loving and tender hearts. Help them to spread amongst all the nations of the earth the light of guidance that cometh from the company on high. Verily, thou art the strong, the powerful, the mighty, the all-subduing, the ever-giving. Verily, thou art the generous, the gentle, the tender, the most bountiful.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Perry, and welcome everybody. We have, if Pankaj comes, we'll have 5 people who have provided some quotes for us to reflect on. And by my calculations, that would allow, on average, 15 minutes for each of us. And perhaps we could go in this order. Ahmed, Perimal, Sore, and Pankaj if he comes, and then myself. Ahmed, if you're ready, over to you.
Yeah, sure. I chose a quote from Bible and one from Baha'i Faith. Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in your midst? Number 1, Corinthians 3:16. Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing, and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Baha'u'llah. Are we going to read all of them or just describe each one at a time?
I think normally we go through 2 at a time like this.
Yeah. Okay. I chose the first one because we had a series of conversations in the Interfaith on WhatsApp about whether God and us are the same, or the creation is the same or not. My impression from the writings of all the faiths is that there are 2 different things. One is the creator and one is the creation. But in the creation, there is signs of God in it. And we can see that in the creation. For example, we know that we live in this world for a short time, and we are given a message that there is other worlds of God, and we go through those worlds. And then we can see, for example, in creation, a worm changes into a butterfly. There's transformations. Spiders and insects transform their body, they shed their body and transform into a new form, things like that. And we could see in the writings of all the faiths that God is saying that I've created you similar to myself, having eyes, ears, and abilities. So I think these are the signs that we have, God's temple. And God's Spirit dwells in your midst. So we humans are really spiritual beings. We're not just this physical body. We have, I won't say parts, but we were constituted more than this physical body. We have a spirit, soul. And to me, from the writings of Baha'i Faith, it seems that we are here in this world to gain qualities that are needed in the next world. Like, for example, when we are in the womb of the mother, we grow legs, arms, eyes, and ears. So we are here to grow. And I think, from my understanding, that the soul is the body we have for the next world, and the spirit dwells in that body. And that soul has got these qualities, these God's temple in it. So I'm wondering what the others think about that.
If anyone has any comments or questions, maybe Jung, use the reaction raise hand button. That way we can keep all the hundreds of people in the right order. But you'll have to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, Ahmad, for this code. You say, don't you know, you got a code here. Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's spirit dwells in your midst? To be spiritual, as I study from the books, just like if you want to become a nun or priest, there are 3 principles you have to follow. First of all, you have to live in purity. Second, we have to live in poverty. The third one is we have to live with obedience to God. So with poverty, if you talk about that, we ourselves God's temple, we're not supposed to be like a magnificent temples that God resides or stay in there. The thing that what is worrying me that when we die, we go to heaven, we don't need to pay tax. But when we live on earth, we have to pay tax because they have land tax. So the God's temple, in real life, if you stay in a temple, obviously they have to contribute to the taxation office. So therefore, the principle of following God to be poverty is not real. In a situation that in the time of Jesus, people had to pay tax. So what is the other better way for us to help the government? In case that you want to live in a convent or you want to live in the abbey or the temple, and we be, rejoice and happy because it's like the first reading you say, Isaac said, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. And then people are supposed to be glad and rejoice and build a house, grow the fruits, and live there happily in freedom. That's why people want to have freedom. And they don't want to be tied up with all the material words. But therefore, if you want to follow God, you got to follow certain rules. But if you're not following God, then I think which are the ways that exempt people from not paying land tax, and when they go to heaven, in what way that they contribute to the tax of heaven?
Well, I didn't get it whether this was a question or was just a statement, because I didn't get a question there. But I think what he means by God's temple is our heart. That is the site that God sits in it, or a spirit sits in it. So I think what that statement wants to say that your heart is mine, and that God's spirit dwells in it and is close to us.
Thank you. Ahmed, with the first quote, I like that. The idea that when we're looking for God, one place we can look and where we can really feel it is in our own feelings, in our heart. Is there a risk that I can feel inspired by God, and then I think, well, everyone must listen to what I say because I've been inspired? Or
so there is that danger, because a lot of people that think they have the power of it go and do wrong things. To me, evangelists, for example, to me, those type of people that think that they can heal people and things like that. Obviously, human spirit has the power to heal, but I think that there is a danger there that ego would overtake. But I think he wants to try in this statement, wants to say that you are a spiritual being, your heart is mine, and I dwell very close to you.
And I guess we still have humility to know that even though we're feeling God there, there's still ourself to contend with. Tracy, you're next.
I appreciate these quotes and just sort of, you know, the whole sort of ideas around us being God's temple, or even that our body is the temple for our spirit. You know, it sort of complement that we should really have the self-regard that we are holy.
Yes.
Like and be respectful, and also not only me, but everyone is holy and is worthy of respect, and that God may reveal himself, herself, and through another person, or through a tree, or through the beauty at any moment, because you know we're all interconnected, but that, you know, that sacredness is imbued everywhere, including us. And most people do not think about themselves as being holy temples in daily life. Even the what they consume with their eyes, put in their mouth, all of those tiny decisions would be different if we really kept it conscious that, you know, we're God's temple, and we're worthy of respect, and others are worthy of deep respect. You know, I think it's sort of one of our things why we keep on needing reminders and salvation is because we forget this simple origin of humanity.
Absolutely. Everything you said is right. We are spiritual beings, and we have to look at everyone else as a spiritual beings.
So thank you for sharing with us tonight.
Now, if no,
sorry, Ahmed?
Yeah.
Should we take Zora next?
Oh yeah, sure. I didn't see whether Zora has raised her hand. Yeah, Zora. Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I just also adding to Tracy's word that we are sacred. I had a very good example. I heard a very good example from in another Zoom that he was saying that if, for example, a church is on fire and all the books, all the holy books are burning, and you don't have any books, but there is one person in there, who do you save? Everybody goes for the person to save that. That means we are that much sacred. And this being sacred, as Tracy mentioned, if everybody knows that how holy or everything is created is sacred, we have to respect, you know, all the things, not because only they are good for us, like even the trees and the land and water and everything, but because they are sacred. And if we know our station, being sacred means we are, our spirit comes from a holy place. We have a prayer that, you know, when somebody dies, we say, I came from you and I return to you. And that things and that sacredness is always with us, but we have to respect and we have to find it. But we forget about it because of all the things around us, all the, I don't know, the gadgets. These days we have so many gadgets around us. Yes, thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Siwa has got it.
Thank you. In Hindu, Pankaj is joining us, so we can ask. Probably if Pankaj comes, he can elaborate more. We call generally we say that the body and the spirit or the soul that together makes the human being. And from the Baha'i writings, that is my understanding. So there's body and the soul or the spirit. They come into being, human being, and then when they separate, the death occurs. But in the Hindu writing somewhere, it said that they have five different layers of body for the spirit, for the soul. And the words they use in that language, the first one is the body of the Annamaya Kosha. The second one is Pranamaya Kosha. The third one is the Mana or the mind. And the fourth one is, I can't remember what it is. And the fifth one is the blissfulness or something like that. So somehow they have differentiated or different levels of layers for the soul. But here it says, know that you yourselves are God's temple. But Tracy said that the body is the temple for the soul. And Baha'u'llah in some writings says the heart is the place for the God and clean it for its descendant. And also somewhere he says that in another even words, turn thy sight into yourself and find me standing mighty and powerful. So these are all different ways of saying that within us there is something that is potentially the reflection of God. That's how I understand it. And Pankaj, if you have a different way of explaining it.
Yeah, I guess if you look at all the writings of all the faiths, you see a similar string of statements that have the same, when you look at them, ultimately they have the same meaning, but are said in a different ways. So that indicates that these faiths are connected together. They're from one source, they are progressive, and they say the same things. Their spiritual parts are the same. Baha'u'llah also says that the spirits of man will go through many worlds. So obviously there are many worlds that we don't know their states, but we know that we come through created into the womb of the mother, and then to this physical world, and then from here we go to another world. But Baha'u'llah in other statement, he says that the worlds of God are many. So we don't know, but I think the soul will progress, the spirit will progress always, forever.
Terrible.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, this God's temple, as what Ahmad said, is the heart. We cannot take in the physical form. The heart is just the organ. This heart they are talking about is first of all, they said, he said in the writings, possess a pure, kindly, and a radiant heart. We cannot take the heart as the organ.
Yes, absolutely.
So here we talk about the mind, feeling, and the spirit. The three components of this is the mind, the spirit, and the feeling. That is where we relate this to the human, man. If we don't have this component, then we we cannot express the words of God. People take very literally how does the heart become pure, kind and radiant, the organ. Because now the latest we have heard that they are already transplanting the pig's heart into the human. So we should not take as just the organ. It's not the organ. The spirit in the human, the feeling in the human, and then the mind in the human. This is what they are talking about. And this is the temple of God. These three components must exist in man.
Yeah, but there is attachment to the physical heart as well. It's kind of a spiritual heart as well. You know what I mean? I think when God, Baha'u'llah says, have a pure heart, it doesn't mean the physical heart, definitely. It means that heart that is part of that spirit, or it's hard to explain it because it's a spiritual thing. It's not a physical thing that we can describe. But obviously, when you fall in love, you feel that throbbing in your heart. So there is an attachment, like the spirit having an attachment to this body. Obviously, there is that attachment to the heart.
Ahmed, do you want to say anything about the second quote before we move to the next?
Yeah. No, it shouldn't take too much time. I chose this second one because we're living in a state of panic at the moment. There is COVID, a lot of problems. And Baha'u'llah says that when you are in this state, we should try rely on God, because he says, thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. So remembrance for our remedies is remembrance of God. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor in both this world and the world to come. So if you look at, again, he says that there are two worlds, this physical world and the world that we go after death. He also says that relying on God is important because we are spiritual beings. By relying on God's healing and remembrance, we get a strength that is the holiest strength that he can give us. So in these tough times, it is important that we pray, remember God, have compassion with other people, these sort of things, have those qualities, God qualities that he asks us to have.
Can I just ask a clarifying question and then, sorry.
I forgot to say something, sorry. Again, you can see from this statement that God and creation are two different things, because the creation needs relying on that creator.
Is the healing here, is it mainly talking about spiritual healing, or in other words, we're anxious or we're depressed or feeling remote or disconnected, or is it talking about something a doctor would look after?
I think it's both, but we have to remember that Baha'u'llah has in other statements that has said that when you are ill, you have to go to a right physician for that illness. Because we are partly physical, partly spiritual, we need both cares, physical care and the spiritual care.
Sorry.
Yes, I just wanted to say that healing and believing is very, prayers is very healing, and even scientifically is proven that, there was, they have studied in some hospitals, and for some parts they prayed for the sick people, and for the other ones they didn't. And those who have been prayed, they improved in health. I mean, this is a physical health. And also, I think, again, scientifically it's proven that believing in the spirit and believing in a faith, it's very healing. And I think most of the people are believe in religion, or even not religion, but spirit, and having somebody who can look after them. It's like somebody who's with you all the time and protecting you. It's very healing, and I thought scientifically is also proven. That's okay.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you. That's so. We'll have to move to the next now. I'm just keeping time. That was very nice. So, Parimal, I have you next.
Pankaj is here. Pankaj is here.
Oh, good. Yeah, Pankaj, you're number 4. So there'll be Parimal, Zore, and Pankaj, and maybe me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So here it says about Uday Karma. So let's first understand karma. Karma is a scientific theory of cause and effect. That is called karma. And it has got Sanchit Karma and Uday Karma. So Sanchit Karma is like a cause. Uday Karma is like an effect. Uday means to rise, or like say, it is in play right now. So when the sun rises, it is in play. It's delivering the sun rays and light and everything. So similarly, Uday Karma is something which is in play right now. It's effective right now. And here we are trying to say is that every karma, every effect which we have is connected to the virtue. So if it is connected to a virtue, then it's a good thing. And the other person, somebody in front of us, may be speaking good things about us. So that is because of our good virtue, or it's called punya. And if somebody is speaking bad of us, it is again due to Uday Karma of our bad things or our sin. So again, this is a cause and effect. So when these things happen, like somebody speaking good of us or speaking bad of us, then we have to understand that the person who is speaking is just an instrument. He is not the cause of it. The cause is our past karma, the Sanchit Karma or the cause karma. And because of that, the effect is coming right now, whether it's good or bad. So the person standing or around us who is speaking those bad words or good words is just an instrument to deliver those things according to our karma. So we should not point fingers or blame that person, the party in front of us, because if we understand it is our fault or our ignorance by which we are just blaming that party in front of us, the opposite person. And we want to remove that ignorance and understand that it is because of the cause or our past karma that whatever effect is happening right now is related to it, and not to blame the person or person delivering it. So to give an example, let's say somebody throws a stone at you and you get hit by it. Then the effect you have, which is pain in your body, is Uday Karma. And when you see that person in front of you, that he threw the stone at you, immediately our intellect tries to blame him. And that is not right, because one has to understand that why he threw the stone, why it was aimed at you, and how like say, when somebody throws a stone, that there is a possibility it may not hit you, and there is possibility it may hit you. And in this case, we are just trying to be fair by saying that he is the instrument of delivery of throwing the stone. Now let us take another example, that you are walking past a mountain and a small pebble from the top rolls down and it hits you. Then whom you are going to blame? In that case, you don't have anybody to blame, but the pain is similar and same. So here by proper understanding, we can remove this our wrong way of blaming others and understand that it was our karma, our cause in the past, which is being delivered right now as Uday karma. And by this kind of understanding, we can stop building new karmas, because in karma theory, there is a concept of two batteries. One battery is discharging and one battery is charging. So the Uday karma is a discharging battery. So every time any Uday or any effect comes to us, it means the discharge has happened. And at the same time, if we blame the other party, then we are charging the new battery. And because of charging of this new battery, it will be that that is the cause which will be delivered in the next life. So because of the past life's karma, right now you are having the effects, and that is the discharging battery. And at the same time, because of your intent, because of your blaming, because of your thoughts in the mind that pointing fingers at others and all that, you are charging the next battery, because of the emotions and all that, you basically that all is the root cause of new batteries charging, and that will be delivered in the next life. So this charge and discharge continuously continues throughout one life after another life after life and so on. So that's why the karma cycle is said to be a vicious cycle of cause and effect. It continues forever, and one has to escape that by this kind of understanding and removing our ignorance and not blaming others. That's what Param Pujya Dada Bhagwan is trying to explain here. Thank you.
Pankaj, I haven't seen this quote before.
Yeah.
Could you read it for us and let us know which religious tradition it's from?
This is from basically it's a combination of Jainism, Sivism, and Hinduism, like Krishna, Shiva, and Jain. All these things combined together is the knowledge from the Param Pujya Dada Bhagwan. And he is trying to, he passed away in 1988. And he was speaking in Gujarati language, sometimes in Hindi language. And he has said that due to scientific circumstantial evidence, but naturally the Lord of the 14 Loks was realized, and based on what I see, I'm just delivering the proper wisdom. And this is like an interpretation in a simple form of the literatures and scriptures of Hindu religion, Jain religion, and Shiva religion, as well as Krishna religion, Vaishnava religion.
Thank you. Could you just read the quote on its own for us?
Yeah. If there is Uday karma means that which is in play, which is in effect right now. If Uday karma of our virtue means of our good things, then the opposite person will speak well or good things about us and make us proud and feel good and all that. And if the Uday karma is of the sin, then the opposite person will speak unwell of us. So either he is speaking good or bad, then whose fault it is? We think that if he is speaking good, we get proud. If he is speaking bad, we think that that opposite person is not good and so on. So we are finding the person's fault who is opposite in front of us. That is why we have to say that Uday karma is mine. It's because of my past karma or past causes. And the opposite person is just an instrument of delivery. This is the understanding, that don't try to blame the person who is in front of you. You just think that that is the instrument of delivery. Like say, if the bad news comes, the postman brings the post to our house, we should not be blaming postman because he is just the instrument of delivery. It is our own cause. Because of that, we are getting this effect right now. And by doing so, our faults or our ignorance will disappear and the new ones will not be formed. Means new karmas for the next life will not be charged. New battery will not be charged. And if you continue to discharge the current battery, then after this life, you are entitled to the freedom because you have not charged the next battery.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Any questions or comments? Ahmed.
Yeah, to me, this statement says that if you are good to people, people would be happy of you and would like you. But if you do bad things, they would dislike you and would not talk good about you. And I think it's true that reaction of other people is very much dependent on what we do, what actions we take. So I think this is trying to say that if you do good things, bad things would not come to you.
Thank you, Ahmed. You're muted.
Okay, thank you for your explanations. For me, when we read, if there is Uday karma of sins, then the opposite person speaks unwell for us. But what happened in real life? That opposite person speak unwell to everyone that he ever met or she ever met, just like her habit or her bad character. And that is one thing that we have to be aware of. The second is how she gonna prove that what she said was correct when she spoke unwell to the people that she met on her way. We don't know what's wrong with her, but everyone will get it. Not only you or me or Mr. X or Mr. Y. And how she gonna verify what she said was true? And because whatever we say, whose fault is that? And we think that is our past karma. Well, in the past, nobody will remember unless they become Buddha. Then they know what they done in a past life. Then they know what they done in a past karma. But if you or me, we haven't become Buddha or Bodhisattva, then we won't be able to organize or to know or to read all the records of our past action in the previous life or this life. So therefore, we have to be like open-minded. Talk about modern thinking. We respect all the past training and education about karma. But with the life nowadays, especially people get influenced by social media and, all the modern sort of technique of information delivery, we have to be really become alert and alarm. And so just to like a bell when it rings, then we just have to be alert, that's all. And the other one is the goddess of mercy. Like in all religions, you always have the God or goddess of mercy will deliver you or us away from karma. If it's not the right karma that imposed on people, then the God of mercy will come and rescue people. And they always have to remember, if they done any bad karma, first thing they have to do is do confession and repentance and fasting, and all these things will make the karma disappear.
Pankaj, does Param
There are
Bhagwan
yeah,
say
there are
anything
many
about that?
yeah, there are many things here. First of all, like if somebody is blaming not just one person but many people continuously, then we think it's that person's habit. Now this argument that it is his habit is a argument of mind intellect, the intelligence which we have. And the role of intelligence or the mind intellect is to lead us to the worldly material world and keep there rather than leading us on the inner journey. So when we ignore the arguments presented by the mind intellect, this statement here from Dada Bhagwan is that you should go beyond your mind intellect and try to understand that if somebody is blaming it, first of all, just look at personally. Don't try to look at the whole group that it's blaming other people and so on. But even if that person is blaming the whole group, it is because of everybody's karma at that time. It's the uday of everybody's karma. That's why it's happening. And then about whether you know your past life and so on. Now, this is the veil of ignorance, or there are so many layers of ignorance we have, and we have to go beyond it. So when we start finding faults with ourselves, like rather than blaming others, we just consider that we had done something wrong in past. That's why this is happening. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. Then we are at the next level and spiritually moving more towards the inner core. And by moving towards the inner core, all these veils will disappear, and it will be clear of the past life, of the karma cycle, how the karma of the past life are affecting right now, and so on. These things will be visually clear to us as we deep dive in the inner journey. So that's the thing.
Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you, Young. Sorry.
Yes, I see this quote as a beautiful way of living. Like when somebody says good things about you, you shouldn't get proud, or you shouldn't get like your ego goes up when somebody always praises you. And also if somebody says not so good things about you, you also shouldn't get sad. You have to think of yourself as yourself and your actions and see how you are doing, rather than if you look at other people, then every day you have to dance with everybody's singing or dance songs. Or we have to be concentrated, as Pankaj said, about our core, our reality, and work on it rather than being worried about what other people are talking about us. And as again Pankaj said, it's just like a postman coming at the door and bringing letters to you. You just take them, but it doesn't mean you are like that or you are that person. I found this beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Congratulations. You have exactly understood it to its inner core, the message given by Dada Bhagwan. And this is perfect. Your explanation was perfect.
Thank you, because in the morning when I read it, I didn't understand. But when you came and you explained, and I was listening to another talk similar to that, especially when you talk about postman coming and giving you a message, it doesn't mean that you are like that. You just get the message and your mind will be free. If you're always keeping all the things people are saying about you, your mind will be all like talking to itself. What this one said, what that one said. You have to just leave them aside. think about think yourself, think what you have to be doing rather than what other people say. But thank you for bringing up. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we don't see you very often. It's nice to see you. Because
most of the time I'm driving, so I do turn on the Zoom or listen to the Zoom meeting recordings later on. Sometimes I'm driving, so I cannot attend and interact, but I do listen to it.
Yeah, your spirit and your spiritual understanding is very beautiful, and it's nice if you could come and share it with the group. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. Always happy to do that.
And Perry, one more question before the next.
It's not a question for concerning about the time. I just put it on the chat. What others do to you is their karma. How you react to it is your karma. That's what I wanted to say. But we can go to the next quote.
All right, thank you, Perry.
Can I just please say something, Colin, quickly?
Oh, I don't know. All right, so make it quick, please.
Let's talk about Jesus. They said the last judgment in the Catholic Bible, the last judgment will be done on the last day of the earth or something, the last day of the earth, the end of the earth, then there will be last judgment. So therefore, people will be judged by what good things and what bad things they done. And the thing that in real life, actually, according to Buddha teaching, when you do good things, the angel on the right-hand side will mark you credit. When people do bad things, the angel on the left will mark bad things. So therefore, what we do is always being recorded. And therefore, that will bring forward when we die. The first organ failure is the brain, because the brain is, like the king of everything. And the second will be the heart and the lungs. And then all other organs will fail. So therefore, people actually rely on their brain to do right thing or bad thing, and then rely on their heart. Is that according to medical science?
Thank you. It's helpful to hear that perspective also. Parimal, you're next. But you're muted, Parimal. And Perry, we just need that. There we are.
O Son of Being, thou art my lamp, and my light is in thee. Get thou from it thy radiance, and seek none other than me. For I have created thee rich, and have bountifully shed my favor upon thee. So here, Baha'u'llah is saying, we are the lamp, and in us we have placed the light. So we must get the radiance from it. We must get the radiance from it. We must seek after it. How we get it? We must seek within us. What is the light, the understanding, the knowledge? Because He has given us, He has created rich, He has given all the potentials in us, then we must acquire. He has made us rich, and He bountifully has shed His favor upon us. How? He has given all the things, the knowledge. So this is what Baha'u'llah says. We have to look within ourselves, into us, get the understanding. Okay, this is what I understand from this. As what I've said just now, the three components are we must always possess: the mind, the feeling, and the spirit. We must use this component to understand God's writing. Then we will find the inner meaning of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Parimal. Ahmed.
Yeah, I just want to say that, I said that all faiths have similar statements. And this statement from Baha'u'llah is exactly very similar to the first quotation from Bible that I brought for tonight. Instead of temple, it says lamp, but the statement is very similar. So these faiths have the same message. They're giving those a spiritual message in a similar way, but in different statements. So when he says that you are my lamp, it's the same as we are God's temple. Very similar. So these statements, these faiths, all faiths, come from one source and give similar messages.
One thing I get from this quote is that by finding the light where the lamp, and the light is in us, and we experience it through mind, feeling, and spirit, it means that our knowledge of God is based in experience. It's not just theory. It's not just listening to a religious leader or following a culture or a tradition or something purely intellectual. It's experiential, and therefore I think can be in some ways a scientific, because we can test our spiritual experience and see what works and what doesn't, and what's good and what's not good. And when enough people share this kind of experience and we have a community, then it's very similar to a scientific community, which all base their understandings on experience and test the experiences. Tracy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you were just saying then. I just wanted to echo it. And, it's a bit like, when we talk about getting a glass of water, maybe in some, few hundred years ago or 1,000 years ago or a couple of thousand years ago, they talk about, I have to get a tumbler from the well, and the different, water is water, but there's different ways of it being contained. It's different ways, language to talk about it. And sometimes the container becomes more of a concern than the actual content of the water. So that, that we have come from that radiant origin, that light, we all came from the light. So, peeling off the layers is our most important work to do, so that light can shine as God wants it to, But yes, thank you. And all the karma thing of, accepting life graciously. We don't know for what reason some things happen sometimes, but to try and look for the lesson and to keep a belief that, love is at the center, and we just to digest things with gratitude leads to good things later on. We don't know exactly when that later on will come, but it will make the present better and the future better too. Anyway, thank you.
Parimal, any comments before the next question?
No, it's good. Thank you. Quite identical.
And Pankaj had a question for your quote as well.
I don't have a question. I just want to echo what has been said. It's very important to understand that my lamp, my light, and my radiance. Actually, you are the light, you are the lamp, and you are the radiance. you know yourself and you know others also. So by knowledge, by knowing, you are actually observing other things, but you are that lamp and you are that light at the inner core. So that's what I just wanted to reiterate. Thank you.
It's true. It's my lamb. It's referred to the Almighty. It's a capital letter. So God is, we represent God. And my light also represents the Almighty God. The light represents the knowledge of God. And everything is in us. So we have to get it from our knowledge, our experience, as what the college said. And we have to seek ourselves, think for ourselves, use our own mind, use our own intelligence, and think and get it from God.
Sorry.
So here the intelligence, our intelligence is the cause of the separation. Like say, if I say my car, then car and myself is separate or different. Similarly, my light, my lamp, when we say, we feel that separation. But when you go beyond it, you say basically that light and that lamp and that radiance is the very core of myself.
Thank you, Pankaj. Sorry.
Yeah, as my also understanding, because we cannot know God, or God is out of our understanding, we can say that what we know from him is what is inside us. And we have to find that light, which is inside each one of us. I just wanted to add that our understanding from God is beyond our understanding. That's why what we can know is ourselves and what is inside us.
Amen.
Yeah, I think Baha'u'llah here means that God has created us as spiritual beings, and we have that power, spiritual power within us, and we should rely on that in order to live our lives. And says, I have created you rich. We are rich because of that spiritual power that is within us.
Thank you. Tracy.
Yeah, I think the other side of looking at this experience-based is like if you go to the beach and everyone describes to you the experience of going in and dealing with the waves and give you great detail, it is completely different when you go in yourself and you experience those waves and the water and the sand at your feet, and that sometimes you can jump over the wave and sometimes the wave is getting the best of you. You know, it's totally different experience with that water and that sand and those waves than if someone had described it to you. So, you know, that's why, you know, taking responsibility for our own life experience and our own growth, and you know, that our relationship with life, with spirit, with the unknown, you know, that's our treasure that we're making, you know, for the next, to be able to have empathy for others or for the next life, or, but you know, it's totally different. You know, if we get out of the theory into the experience of when you're at your limit, you experience another realm of love and support. It's a totally different thing than if you've just studied it in books. Anyway, that's where our light is, diving deep into that inner
Very good.
Anyway, and I will have to be going soon.
Okay. I love all these analogies, lamps and waves. It makes spirituality understandable. Young, you're muted again.
Thank you, Tracy. You remind me of my experience with the waves and the rocks and the sands, because they beat me like probably a lot of times when I was swimming and diving in the ocean. And it was like a life-death experience for me, but lucky I could stand up. After they beat me so many times, they didn't break my spinal cord. So for me, it was like, go to heaven and went down to the other side of heaven, but they didn't break my spinal cord and my body and my bones. The thing that make me worry that the water nowadays, they got chemical in there. The drinking water, whatever, is not safe for people anymore because of the new water treatment plant and the chemical and everything there. And they also found the virus of COVID-19 in the water. So I don't know how much trust that we can put in the water, even the water at the ocean, because they have sewage line go over there. Unless you swim in a best natural area of the sea or the oceans, then you'll be exempted from the pollutions. So to get the radiance from the lamp of the light, either God and those on us, like we were born with it, or we were born with them. But we had to look at the water when people start putting chemical, when they try to test the water, and they put a new treatment plant of the water and use all those, a lot of things that kill the fish and the oil that leak out from all the big, business HMAS or Army HMAS. So we had to second thought about the water. That's all my time that I think about the water. It's make me worry.
Thank you. And Perry.
I have good experience with water and beach. I have a general comment. I can see that now our sort of discussions and understanding has become much more tending to bring us together. But the general comment that I want to make is that if we all try to see when someone or some quotations are mentioned and it is being explained, we have to take a position that probably my understanding so far I had may not be the exact way of understanding, and try to see other person's view, whether maybe that is a possibility. And I'm glad to see that we are getting closer to that kind of understanding. Thank you.
Parimal, did you want to say anything else? Right, you're muted.
I just want to thank Tracy for explanation about the experience going into the ocean. It's true. When we are together with Tracy and the other section, the indigenous people, they are way of talking and feeling and relating their stories. If we don't have these three components, we cannot understand people. The three components of mind, feeling, and spirit is very difficult. So we must, in order to have this, we have to be the lamp. We have to be the light. We have to get the radiance from God, and because He has given everything. If you think in isolation, then of course we have a different way of thinking and saying. as what Shiva said, we are coming very close to a common understanding of these words. It's great to have in this space. Thank you.
Thank you, Parimal. Let's move on to Zore's quotes. And when it's time for questions, I'm going to give priority to Marina and Fatane and Sachi if they put their hands up. Zore.
As ye have faith, so shall your powers and blessings be. Abdul Baha. I just love that it's very, even though it's very short, but it's very powerful, and it's very deep meaning that having faith, it gives you life and powers, everything. We had so many stories about people who suddenly got faith in something and they just become so like spiritual powers mostly. And even spiritual powers can give you strength of physical power. And you can stand for yourself, and you can, you can conquer the world. Or I just, that's what, when I saw this one, I said, it's just, for me, it's got lots of meaning, but that's all I can talk about it. Having faith. If any friend has to say something more about.
Would you like to read the second one, and then we'll talk about that?
Dost thou reckon thyself only a puny form, when within thee the universe is folded? Imam Ali. When I read this one, I've heard it from scientists, that one. And when I saw it that Imam Ali said it maybe 1,500 years ago, it was, to me, was a quite wide opening. I mean, eye-opening. And yeah, I heard from the universe that even when you look at every person, every cell, it's just the whole universe is in that because of the genes, the universe, not only the Earth planet, but the whole universe. And for me was, wow.
Can I just start with a question? Sorry, Ahmed, but I'll go first. Where it says within the universe is folded, is that kind of, do you think, intended to mean that we have atoms and electrons, and when you look, if you have the right equipment, it's actually a bit like a universe inside us?
I can take it as a physical also. And it is. I have to find that there is a clip that a scientist talking about that it's actually very recent. They're saying that every person is just, every cell of you is just the whole universe because of the genetic that, I don't want to say it's recycling, but everything is connected. Like it's mainly like we are all one. We are all one, and we are all connected to each other.
Ahmed.
Yeah, I just want to stress again that these statements are similar. If you change the words, it will bring up the same meaning. For example, if you change this, the word faith to God's temple, you see that it's the same statement as the first one that I had. As you have God's temple, so shall your powers and even the Imam Ali's message, when he says that you are my God, you are my temple, and you have the powers in you, again, that statement becomes similar. So these faiths are saying the same thing, but in different statements.
I can see the oneness of humanity or oneness of the whole universe. We are all one. If we look at this universe, That's what I get from the Emma Alice quote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jared. This one actually, people interpret it. I think it's from China, from Chinese people. If I can understand that, but also it's from the Holy Bible. You see, the people were created by dust, and then after that, God give them the spirit. They blew the air into the dust, and then that's what the Holy Spirit got in, and then the person got baptized by water. So therefore, all the elements of the universe were with the people, and what we call here the elements that created the human body or the universe, ocean, water, fire, earth, dust, air, and wood. So that's all it was that I remember. It from the Chinese people. They believe in the elements that create human people, and the same elements that create universe or contribute to the creation of the universe or the universe itself.
Yes. Thank you.
And the Bible also talks about faith. With a little bit of faith, you can move mountains.
Mm. Yes.
Maybe that's literally true, but definitely spiritually true. Any more comments on these? Yes, Marina. Oh, that's a. Would you like to say anything, Marina?
Yeah, I was just trying to say, faith is something which we can't see right now, but we have to trust and wait. It's like, say for example, if someone says, I'll give you $100 today, but which we can see face to face. But faith is something like we don't say it, but we have to wait for long and we don't know the timing. So faith is more harder in any religion. It says the same. Faith is something we can't see in life, but trusting that it'll come in the right time when we need is the correct way of thinking of the faith for the future. Like it's something which is going to happen in the future, maybe in 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, but it's going to come at the right time. That's the way I think the faith is. Believing in any God, doesn't matter what religion it is, but believing in God that's the way we believe in the faith.
I love that. I like the way you said it, because sometimes when we say or we pray, I pray that I want this, but I leave it to your hand, because I know he knows what's good for me. We leave it, and when it comes, yeah. But I feel that you are very right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, this the next one where universe is folded. Just as example, like already somebody mentioned about the DNA. Within DNA, the whole universe is already programmed. And we can see a similar example. I just wanted to quote the example that in a very, very small seed, a whole of banyan tree, which is a very, very large tree, is already there. So it's a universe of banyan tree folded within a small seed, which is smaller than a point on the pin. So, I mean, it unfolds, and that unfolding is based on our faith. And so shall you have that powers and the blessings to unfold it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. And that I didn't put my hand up, but I was listening to a podcast about the Big Bang, and apparently everything in the universe fits into the size of a grapefruit. So, but of course it expanded very rapidly. but it's all there. And someone asked the scientist, so where is the point in the universe which it's all radiating from? And apparently the scientific answer is that it isn't one point, it's radiating from everywhere. And Dr. Karl Kruszelnicki and myself couldn't get our heads around that. Anyway, that's very interesting, the universe. Perry.
Thank you, and it reminded me of I was going to, my quote was about dream, but this question actually took me to that. So forgive me that I had to share this. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So this is what Baha'u'llah says about dream. As to thy question concerning the worlds of God, know thou of a truth that the worlds of God are countless in their number and infinite in their range. None can reckon or comprehend them except God, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Consider thy state when asleep. Verily I say, this phenomenon is the most time fully realized. Had the world in which thou didst find thyself in thy dream been identical with the world in which thou livest, it would have been necessary for the event occurring in that dream to have transpired in this world at the very moment of its occurrence. Were it so, you would have borne witness unto it. This being not the case, however, it must necessarily follow that the world in which thou livest is different and apart from that which thou hast experienced in the dream. This latter world, no beginning, no end. It would be true if thou were to contend that this same world is as decreed by all glorious and almighty God within thy proper self and is wrapped up within thee. This is where I was coming to what was earlier mentioned. It would be true if thou were to contend that this same world, this is a different world that we see in the dream, the same world is as decreed by all glorious and almighty God within thy proper self and is wrapped up within thee. Then he says, it would equally be true to maintain that thy spirit have transcended the limitations of sleep and having stripped itself of all earthly attachment, had by the act of God be made to traverse a realm which lieth hidden in the innermost reality of this world. So, and that's a part of the thing that I actually want to share, that you can say that what we see sometimes in the dream it materializes after some time. So he is giving an argument that these worlds are different worlds. Otherwise, you should be a witness to that event at that same time, but it was not the case. So it's two different worlds. And then he says, this other world, that is a different world, if he were to say that it is wrapped within yourself, that is true. But he also says it is equally true that if you were to say that the soul or the spirit has stripped itself of this earthly attachment and has traversed to the realm of this other world, which is actually hidden within this world. So it's where the previous quotation was previous quotation was, within thee, the universe is folded. I found that it was correlating to that particular quotation. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. Any more comments, Zoe, or anybody else on these quotes?
No, I think that was good. Thank you.
Lovely choice of quotes and nice. Look, we have time for my quotes, but I'll read them, and I don't mind if there's no comments. I just like them. Yes, you have it there. So from Christian scripture, Lord, we don't know where you are going, so how can we know the way? Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. And this quote, Baha'u'llah quotes a Sufi leader in the book, The Seven Valleys. Wherefore, relevant to this, Qaji Abdullah, may God the Most High sanctify his beloved spirit, hath made a subtle point and spoken an eloquent word as to the meaning of guide thou us on the straight path, which is show us the right way, that is, honor us with the love of thine essence, that we may be freed from turning toward ourselves and toward all else save thee, and may become wholly thine, and know only thee, and see only thee, and think of none save thee. And whichever religion we belong to, for example, if we're a Christian, I can imagine that this is what Jesus would say. Honor us with the love of your essence, that we may be freed from turning towards ourselves and toward all else save Jesus, for example, may become wholly thine, know only thee, and see only thee, and think of none save thee. Because in the Baha'i view, the messengers of God were more than just messengers, they were reflections of God. They had a mission from God, and they were the face of God, as it says in the Bible. I just thought I'd share that because there's a few ways to read quotes like I am the way, and one way is kind of exclusive, and another way is to understand what it is to walk with God. Ahmed.
Yeah, again, if you look at these statements, you see that they are similar. And to me, Baha'u'llah has stated that any faith is divided into two sections, the spiritual section and the physical section. The spiritual section doesn't change. It is true for everyone. Christ says, love your neighbor. Baha'u'llah says it differently. Muhammad says it in another way. Buddha says it in another way. But they are saying the same statement. Whereas the physical laws and principles are dependent on the time. So those things change in different religions. How to wash your hands, how to clean yourself, things like that. And those are dependent on the time. So it shows that there's this progressive revelation through time. These spiritual things do not change. They're the same. They're always there, similarly, although said in a different way.
Thank you, Ahmed. Sorry.
I feel I can see the one they say follow me, that as a human being, there is two ways. We have our ego, or we have our sense of turning towards materialism and spiritualism. And then when we look at our like physical things, and only we are going towards to make more money, make more houses. Even you can do that as long as you always have a balance between your spirit, that means your real self, and while we are here for maybe 70 or 100 years, we are here, we shouldn't only think of this life. That's why the true life is your spirit life, the real life, or your real core, as we say. And we always have the example of a bird. When the bird is hungry, he comes down to just to eat, to just have get some strength or to live, rather than goes inside and makes all his body like dirty with the whatever is in the material world. Material is good as long as it doesn't stop you from being yourself, like it's spiritual, your real self, rather than the outer shell of, if they say the onions, the outer is more of your shelters and your but the inner core is your real, that the light which you have to look for that. That's what I found the real way is that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. Yeah, I can see what how challenging it is, because our first birth introduces us to the material world, and then as we experience the love of our parents and the education which we receive, including spiritual education, we hopefully see this spiritual self within us and have our second birth. And you're muted. I muted you before.
Thank you, Colin. This is the first one, Lord. We don't know where you are going, and how can we know the way? It is a very realistic question. People later on learn that Jesus has to go through crucifixion, being crucified on the cross. The thing that by his death and resurrection, people still follow him. So there must be some faith and some truth in what he had to go through. If they don't know where he's going, then they're not following him. But then later on, they know that he's death on the cross because the sins of the people, and they just follow him, disregard of whatever happening between him and the Romans. So that is a good one. But for contemporary history, this now we're facing at the moment with COVID. Do you know where you are going with vaccination or unvaccination, with testing for the virus or not testing for the virus, for the rapid test or whatever, the labs and all that problems that we are facing in the hospital? So how we know where we are going, and how people know where they are going, and how can they know the way? So for this answer, Jesus, we had to trust in his way, that we had to have faith, and we had to pray for salvation, and we had to pray that the death of people, unfortunately, they die, but their death will not be in vain, that their death will be a contribution to the medical science, like research and discoveries, not like a sacrifice of human body for nothing. So that's what it's come to my thought that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Ahmed.
Colin, I want to be a bit naughty and ask you to expand on your interpretation of that first statement by John. But I just want to say something about it. Please do explain later after me. That here Christ says that I am the manifestation of the time, and I present the truth. So it's important to know that the manifestation of the time are in their advent, at the time of their advent, are the truth of the time, and are presenting what they are God's message, God's mouth is presenting the message of the time. But I'd like to ask you to expand on your interpretation on that first, especially the first part, which is difficult for me.
Can I ask not to try and explain it now because it's too important and too interesting? Maybe it could be a session later, but if Perry, if you permit, could I share my screen and also show you something and play a song? Where's Perry? Yeah. So I'll do that.
Yeah, you can share.
Okay.
Miruna and Sachi, you have to say something.
So I, as you know, I have this website and I have a page called Reflections on the Way. And so it's an opportunity to explore it maybe in a more relaxed manner. And there's some music and some passages from writings, including an exploration of that quote, which Ahmed, you were asking about in more context. And a few other quotes, including the one we just read. So maybe at a future date we could look at that, because it's a very important one. Every religion has this wonderful truth, and yet they manage to find a quote or half a dozen quotes to stop them being seekers, to stop them from even considering anything else. So, and that's a test when, like if Jesus returns or the promise of any religion returns, there's a test to be able to see Jesus when he speaks again. But I'm talking a Baha'i viewpoint, of course. So there's some music in this presentation, and I rather like this one. We teach it to the children in children's classes.
You have to share sound.
Yeah, I've done that. I clicked that. So hopefully this will work.
I walk the path of my Lord. I walk the path of my Lord. And when I fall like all men, I will hope for His grace. I walk the path of my Lord. I'll seek the pleasure of my Lord. I'll seek the pleasure of my Lord. And what He asks, like Rodus, I will make my desire. I'll seek the pleasure of my Lord. I'll bear the banner of my Lord. I'll bear the banner of my Lord. And unafraid, like Hussein, I will raise up His name. I'll bear the banner of my Lord. I'll walk the path. I'll seek the pleasure. I'll bear the banner. I'll be a sign from my Lord.
Anyway, you thank you for the opportunity to play a song which I rather like. We have a minute Would anyone like to say anything? Jung?
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Colin. Next week, if we be able to help out with the questions that I might ask, and if we run out of time tonight, can we do it next week, Colin?
Perry? I think something else might be planned.